Yes, welcome back to KG and the General, our Friday night footy show. Our special guest, as always, every Friday night, the great man Russ Libben on my right and Donald Neil Kelly, the King, on my left. Although I think our next guest...
It makes it a little bit tricky to introduce the next guest, and I have heard him speak, and he's been quite open in saying that he accepts that Curls is the King. And I asked the King when he came in, well, how do I introduce Wayne Carey? He said, we'll just call him the Prince. So I said, all right, so our next guest is, of course, the greatest centre-half forward of all time, North Melbourne, up against the Power this Sunday, Wayne Carey. Wayne, thanks for your time.
G'day, boys. G'day, boys. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Wayne.
Well, we tried to get you in as the King, mate, but Curls just won't come at it. He won't.
No, and that's fair enough too.
I'm not advocating.
I'm happy to be the Prince.
You can get down from time to time and see the Prince at the Mars Bar too, of course, but we'll talk about some other stuff. North Melbourne up against the Power. Have you been happy with North Melbourne's performance so far this year, Wayne?
Yeah, look, they obviously started a bit slow, but I think overall they've had a couple of bad losses, being the Collingwood one and also the St Kilda one. But other than that, I think their form's been okay. And you know, I think they're really starting to develop some young kids, which I'd be pleased with.
I guess Wayne, Scotty's going to do it his way, so it will take time for him to get things organised for them to play the way that he wants them to play. So it's going to take time.
Yeah, look, it is, and it's not so much the way he wants them to play. I think at the end of the day, it gets back to these kids getting some continuity and playing playing a lot more football. You know, getting a couple more years under their belt. They are a very young list, and to be honest with you, I'm finding it hard to know half the side. It's really a case of that with some of the sides in the AFL now, and being so young. It is very difficult, but they'll get better with time. I think a lot of people have probably underestimated their list. I think their list is, not too bad. I can't see them playing, probably finals footy for a couple of years, but I think they've been quite competitive. But the two blowouts would be the thing that they're not too happy with.
Wayne, have you had any feedback from the player group at all regarding the acceptance of Scott?
I think they're huge raps on him at the club. He's an impressive young man. I can say that because I think he is younger than me. I had the privilege of doing a function. Actually, it was a while ago now, but I had a real chance to have a good chat to him. And the thing that I liked about, he's obviously a young coach. This is his first crack at being a senior coach. And he realised that it's not just about him. He's going to need the support and help of all of the assistants at the club, and that's what makes a coaching. That's what makes a good coach, which is a good coaching panel, rather than just think that it's all about him. And he's the way he went about his footy is the way he's going about his coaching, and that's full ball.
And often, Wayne, when you come in as a new coach, you appreciate a young squad because you can get them to play and accept the responsibility as you want them to. Sometimes you go into a group and it's dominated by the senior players. It's very difficult to then reinforce and get your message across. And when I look at the team, they're second youngest in age and also games played for this round. Only Richmond has a younger squad, so sometimes that can work in your favour when you're new to a club.
Yeah, look, that's a really, really, really good point. I think you only have to look as far back as Dennis Pagan, who moulded a group of young guys at the Kangaroos.
Yep.
We're all young, moulded that group. He said jump, we said how high, and then he went to Carlton and really had an established group of senior players. Koudafides, I think Bradley was still maybe playing when he first took over, but they'd already played most of their footy and hard-nosed about the way things should be done. Dennis tried to change that, and we all know what happened.
And Wayne, they're copying the Crows at a time when the Crows are playing probably some of their worst football ever.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt they'd be disappointed with the way they've played. There's no question. Look, the thing about last week, and I didn't see all the game, but that last 15 minutes, what we know that they can do. Now, what will be interesting to see whether that really flows through to this week. You would hope so from the Crows' point of view, because like I said, they've been really disappointing, and especially late in games. So for them to do that, even though it was against Richmond, which they're pretty poor, But I think they'll get a lot of confidence out of that, and it's amazing what 15 minutes of footy can do for a group. And it'll be just as interesting to see whether they follow that through.
Yeah. Wayne, what's the general talk in Melbourne in the way to beat the Crows? How do the Melbourne players that see the Crows and what they see as their vulnerability?
Look, I'm not too sure about, and probably haven't got my finger on the pulse about how each club goes about it, but right now, I think they're very low. They've obviously got no confidence whatsoever. And let's take last week out of it. And confidence is a huge thing in footy. And often when you're feeling like that, doesn't matter what you try. It just doesn't come off. And look, as a lot of good judges here in Melbourne, and also I'm sure in Adelaide, they had the Crows finishing in the top 4.
Yeah.
And some saying, I think of Gary Lyon thinking that they could probably win the premiership. So, they're not as bad as what they're playing at the moment. So I think you're going to see a much improved Adelaide Crows for the rest of the year. There's no doubt about that. And no bigger opportunity than this week, because as we said, the Kangaroos haven't been in bad form other than those 2 games. So it's going to be I think it'll be a really good game to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
You may not be aware just yet, Wayne, that Scott Thompson has dropped out. Also, Graham Johncock is out through injury. Andrew McLeod had a crook shoulder last week, and also Brett Burton is having his knee cleaned out. You played with those players when you were here, and you know the influence that all of them can have on a game. Do you see it a little bit differently, knowing that?
Well, knowing that all of those guys are out, obviously, you don't exactly replace those guys. But what it does is it really gives, other guys on the list an opportunity and another crack at it. And the one thing that young guys at a club, when your club is struggling, and it's not a good thing for the club as a whole, but boy, does it create some opportunities for some players that want to have a crack and want to get in there maybe a little earlier, maybe a little prematurely. But you really have to take the bit between the teeth and run with it, and that's what it gives some of these guys that may not have got the opportunity with these guys being out. So I think even though they're out, I think you'll see a very, very competitive, hard-nosed Crows outfit come Saturday.